This is Rob Zombie. You can listen to iWalter. I haven't heard it yet, but maybe it's good.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Wow, that was loud. Yes, folks, this is Walter. I've been off for about 2 weeks now, I guess, or something like that. A lot has happened. Amongst the norm. Actually, I'm using a newer, honestly, it's a new computer, so it's got to get used to it, because I'm actually not using my laptop that I normally use. I'm actually using this new Mac Pro, the one that looks like a cylinder, as they call it. So I'm going to try to experiment with this tonight, and it actually works quite nicely. Everything was easy to access because everything was backed up on my cloud, and I transferred a bunch of hard drives into a external. So that was pretty sweet. The only thing it was funny, I've only owned it for a very short period of time, like 2 weeks. I still haven't gotten the bill yet because it's going to be pretty expensive. I think it's like, whoops, here goes sliding my mic. I got to figure out a way to keep this from sliding down. I'm going to have to do some makeshift thing, whatever. Because I have this thing that I put my mic on normally, and it kind of just rips the desk apart. And I have a desk I don't want to ruin, so to speak. So anyway, next weekend I don't know yet. I haven't made any definite plans, but I promised Ryan Logston, who was kind enough to do that 4-hour show with me, that I would try to meet up with him next weekend, because he's going to he's involved in some horror fest up in outside of Wilkesboro. And is that the way you say it, Wilkesboro? Something like that. So anyway, it's at a bar, actually, of all places. I guess they're doing a screening there, and it's free. It's just that the drive is going to be like quite a few hours, so at least 2 or 3 hours, and I don't even know if I'm actually want to go that far. But I did promise him, and plus I just got, again, myself into a large amount of debt that I didn't expect to. Just to give you a heads up, don't worry, I don't have any stories really lined up at this point, and I seriously doubt that I will. So, that's a good thing, because they generally just make my, I kind of stumble on words and stuff. But, if I do that for Ryan, because I did promise him, he's been advertising a lot. Maybe I'll just try to do a peek into his area on Facebook and see if I can find it, because he's been advertising it quite a bit, and see if he's done it lately. So I would love to go, but again, the computer actually set me back, for starters, probably you're saying like about $2,500. So it was a pretty large amount of money, and because of that, again, I may not be able to, unfortunately, go to this thing, because it's because I really don't want to pay for a hotel room just for something that's going to last a few hours. And that's the thing too. Again, I'd love to do it because Ryan helped me out, but the problem is the hotel room would be like $100 a night, and you're talking at least the night before and the night after, and that's going to be like $200, and I really just can't afford that right now. So, because I actually got some little extra things to tweak this new computer I have. It's a 2013 model, for anybody familiar. That's considered the new Mac Pro, which has not changed in the past. Let's see, because it's 2017, and I'm not very good with math, so forgive me for a minute. So it's about 4 years old, and the thing is, I just have to count on my fingers. I'm sorry to admit that out loud, but I did. Yeah, it's in Scranton. Okay, he does have it advertised. It's called the Redskin. Looks like flower, but without the L, so it's Flower. Plus appearance by King and Queen of the Underground Horror, Fred Vogel and Shelby Vogel. And that is at 126 Franklin Avenue, Scranton, PA, 18503 at 9 o'clock, no cover charge, which is fine. So I got to actually plug this for myself so I'll remember and see if I am able to do it. But again, it's going to be next Saturday. It would be fine because it would be over the weekend. Again, I'm going to keep an open mind if I can do it. I'll look later on to see how many hours of driving I'll have to do to and from. I'm not going to do it just to be a dick to the guy because he was very nice to me. But in some ways, I might have to call it a day and say I can't do it. So I'm not sure yet. I'm not quite sure if I am going to do it or not. So anyway, again, a lot happened. I was off for Friday the 13th when I was going to actually do a show because I actually went to Blairstown, where I was actually hoping that, hey, maybe I'll just do a show from Blairstown. I actually was going to bring my equipment. I think I actually did, and I decided, you know what, I'm not up to it, so I did not. It was fun to go to. I made it by the skin of my teeth because the problem was I actually went out to Blairstown that day, and I slept in very late at home. I slept, I think, until 4 or so. It was something pretty late. So the thing was they showed Friday the 13th. I probably didn't explain myself very well, but yeah, in Blairstown, they actually, every Friday the 13th, they show the film, the original Friday the 13th, because that's what was actually filmed. So yeah, no brainer. They're going to show that. So, I figured, you know what? I wasn't going to do it at first. It just seemed like a complete waste of money and of time because I'd have to use a vacation day. So at the last, about a week beforehand, I said, you know what? There's so much crap going on at my job, and it was really upsetting me. I decided, I really need to take off when I can because otherwise I'm just going to go AWOL, which I think kind of did happen at work. So before that would happen, I decided to just, take off, have a 4-day weekend because it was Martin Luther King's birthday on Monday, so we had off anyway. So of this past Monday, not this one today, but last Monday we had off. So, again, I just figured, okay, well, I'll just, make it a 4-day weekend again. I'll take off and enjoy being away from work a little longer than just 3 days. I'll have 4 days. So anyway, it was funny because I actually, again, I made it to where my hotel was, which was in Jersey. It was actually past Blairstown, which was kind of interesting. So I got to the hotel and I was there by I think I had an hour and a half before this thing with going to see this film of Friday the 13th, the original one. So it was funny. I made it out there and I was like, okay, I'm going to unpack real quick. I brought a little extras, a couple small suitcases, really tiny or, travel ones. And because one was actually filled with all my equipment. That was the reason for more than why I had more than I really needed for basically a overnight bag. And it was okay, this is cool. It's a little overpacked, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And it was funny because actually I was going to go down. I went down on Friday and I was supposed to come back on Saturday afternoon. I figured that's why I got a hotel so I could sleep in, which I did. Slept in till like noontime. Got up and I looked out the window and it was like, well, somebody told me it was supposed to possibly snow. And I think it was my parents and my mother. And it was like, you know what? Maybe I better just wait a little bit and see what happens, because they said it was supposed to snow, I think, at noontime or 2 o'clock or something like that. And it started to. I was like, well, it's not really sticking, but I don't know. I'm just going to kind of take my time getting ready. And by the time I packed everything up, or was gone to, and I was ready, I was washed up, and I looked out the window again, the snow was actually sticking and kind of accumulate into, a small amount. But that kind of just raised a red flag for me of like, you know what? If I go home and it's not me that I'm concerned about, because I'm a very cautious driver, I'm more concerned about other people who don't know how to drive when the roads get a little bit treacherous or dangerous by the smallest amount. It always turns into basically a disaster area, and I don't feel like getting killed because of some other idiot on the road. So I just figure, you know what? It is really starting to kind of accumulate. And it was funny because where my hotel was, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. Right next door, like outside my door, was a shopping center, not a real big one, like a strip mall, and it was I'm trying to think, a Cracker Barrel. So it was like, hey, this is perfect. I don't even have to, I could basically go out in my, I'm going to sneeze in a minute, folks, so give me a moment. That was probably quite loud, so I apologize about that. But anybody who may have said bless you, thank you. So, yes, Slaughter in Syracuse, by the way, it's a thing for rhyme. I actually I lost my train of thought. I blew my brains out of my head from that sneeze. Not even joking, actually. Yeah, so I actually ate at Cracker Barrel, and then I just kind of sat in and watched movies and TV shows on whatever was on cable in the room. And next day I left early. So it was kind of interesting because I'm actually glad I won. I had a blast. I had some fun. Actually, it was funny because in Blairstown, I was a little late. I actually missed the first few minutes of a movie I've seen like probably 50 times, so it was like not a big deal. But the reason I missed it was because now somebody came up with an ingenious idea, and I do mean that, a very good idea, that they took one of the empty stores, because Blairstown's, the actual town in Blairstown is walking distance for even the most out of shape person, because it's less than one city block as the whole town. And that being said, basically noticed that they opened up a museum, well, what they call a museum. It's a store, a novelty store for like Blairstown, mainly focused around Friday the 13th, because Friday the 13th is what put some place that nobody ever heard of, that's in Jersey, on the face of the map. And it's funny because it is so small that everybody knows each other from Blairstown. And they have this one bar on the street that's across from, that was filmed probably almost slightly, at least maybe accidentally, but it was definitely on the same street, to say the least. This bar that was in you probably wouldn't notice it. Maybe they did not shoot it. I can't remember. But there's this movie house that was in Blairstown. But, across the street there's this bar, and I go there every time to get something to eat. I don't drink, but they definitely have, bar food's always the best. So I went in there, but everybody in there knew each other, and, they were shooting a breeze and stuff like that. And, basically they were happy because this movie has drawn for I don't know, 1980 until now. What is that? It's almost like 40 years or whatever. has really drawn more people than ever before. I'm kind of jumping around. I apologize. I'm checking out some pictures that Ryan had posted up of different people he got meet and greets with, whatever, or people he's met on these conventions he's going to, and most of them have like some really hot-looking girls, so that always is an easy distraction for me. So anyway, getting back, trying to focus myself a little bit, which I haven't done yet. I'm sure I've already wasted a half an hour, because I generally do by doing this. No, 15 minutes, so I'm not doing too bad. So, anyway, the thing was fun that I went to. It's called Rory's Hall, for anybody who's interested. That's where they show anytime there's any event for Friday the 13th, they will show the film on, for that, if there is a Friday the 13th. Now, it's funny, I did that last year, and the crowd was, like, pretty decent. It did pretty well. They had 2 shows, and both of them were pretty well filled. This year, for some reason, it was really crowded, and they actually added a 3rd show that started, I think, at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that one was completely sold out. So for Friday the 13th at this place called Rory's Hall in Blairstown. So that was kind of like, that's really cool that just within a year it's accumulate more. And actually, I got to hand it, because this one guy came up a few years ago. He came up with this idea where the campground was for the original Friday the 13th, which is, it's not the actual name, but the name they used in the movie was Camp Crystal Lake. That's not the name of the campground, and it's still open nowadays. It's private property, though. But the guy decided to, hey, you know what? I'm just going to sell trinkets and, pieces of the boat. Not a boat. It's I don't know what you call it. It was a thing in the lake they had. It was the wooden plank, or whatever you want to call it. The plank's not the word either. So it started dry rot and everything. So they started like taking pieces of this, almost like a raft type thing. If you saw it in the film, like where they're jumping off to go swimming and everything. Those kids in the original Friday the 13th. And they made it into like little trinkets, because I had one hanging on my wall, which was a frame with a picture of the, what do you call it? I'll just call it Camp Crystal Lake. It's probably best to keep it kind of anonymous anyway. I'm sure they don't want people to the people know at this point what the name of the actual location and the name of the camp is. So they were actually made, I bought those last year. They made these wooden dice out of the wooden rafty looking thing. How you like that? I came up with a new terminology, a new word, rafty looking thing. So, but the point is, this guy came up with this idea. It's like, hey, you know what? Why don't we, I'm trying to think of the correct terminology, but why don't we just like do tours? See if we can get like permission when the campgrounds aren't being occupied by kids, and do tours, where they shot the original Friday the 13th. It was funny, after they were done filming years ago, when they finished filming, they actually never bothered to, take, like, they made this fake sign that said Camp Crystal Lake, whatever. Well, when the crew was done filming, they just left it there in the campgrounds. Like, they basically just left stuff behind. They trashed, I don't want to use the word trash, but the crew didn't bother to clean up after themselves of filming. So the Camp Crystal Lake sign was left behind, because that is not the name of that campground. The guy who set up these tours actually worked on these campgrounds, a young guy. Him and his wife, I don't know if his wife does, but he does. And he got permission that, just a few years back, why don't we just try to set up some tours? If, he got permission, can we do that? And apparently he's done that. He's been doing this for the last few years, and it actually turned out pretty successfully. So for some reason in 2017, which has just started a few weeks ago, he's actually drawn more of a crowd. Now, you can't go to the campgrounds, obviously, but for some reason, despite that, it still draws a popularity or whatever. It draws a crowd of people from not only just from the States or, but also from around the world. And that's actually kind of really amazing. So I honestly was going to skip out this time. I just figured, well, if you can't go in the campgrounds, why even bother to do so? And then after doing it, it was like, you know what? I'm kind of glad I did it. I needed to get away from work for one thing. I needed my rest from because my job is just very exhausted, more so than it should even be. And it was fun. It was fun. So I actually I didn't come back until Sunday morning, believe it or not. Yeah, so it was the morning for once. It wasn't 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No, it was in the morning. I got home by, I think, 11:30 because I got up around 9 and packed. So it was cool. But, I left it out, so I apologize. But, yeah, they opened up this thing called, I have a bag with the name on there. It's called Blairstown Museum. And, again, what I was trying to get to, which always takes me a very long time to get to a point, almost a half an hour, which this show's going to be like less than an hour probably. It basically, it was fun because I went in there and it actually made me late for the film because they actually had some props left behind that were autographed now by family members, from crew members, actors in the film. They actually, like the Monopoly board, if you ever watch Friday the 13th, they actually now own that Monopoly board. And they actually had it signed by, I think, a crew member, cast member, whatever. So that was really cool. And they did have some other trinkets in the store from the film, the original one, which was the only one shot around on the East Coast. And then they said, hey, next Friday the 13th, or no, I think not Friday the 13th, but in October, around Halloween time, if the museum is still open, which I'm hoping it is because it's a good idea in Blairstown, they actually said they have gotten permission to get the prop, which was also kind of scrapped heap, that they put on top of the Blairstown Diner. So that they made up a sign in the movie, because they really didn't see much of the diner itself. I don't even know, I'm not too sure if the interior shots were actually shot at that diner. I'm assuming they were because it was kind of a low-budget film. So, but they made this big sign up that basically said diner. And that sign was another thing they were able, actually, the museum was able, they said they're going to get permission to have that around Halloween time. They're going to have it on display at the store. It's called Blairstown Museum, but it's actually basically a store. So, and it's very cool looking, don't get me wrong. It's not very big, and I got some cool trinkets when I was there. Blairstown history or something, a book on Blairstown, and a history of Friday the 13th, which actually was very interesting, believe it or not, because it actually said how, when they were making the film of Friday the 13th, they were trying to grab other people from other, directors or other crew members from other films. And one of them was some film that was being shot, which I assume was in Jersey, that became a trauma film, which originally I don't believe it was. It was a movie called The Children. Don't mistake it for a movie called Children of the Corn. I think there's another movie with the same name, because it is not the same. It's a movie called The Children, and it was very, very scary. It's one film to this day, at least in my head, because I guess it left such an impression. It was a movie that gave me nightmares as a little kid, and it still gives me nightmares. I will not watch it. But anyway, a couple of the people on that film they try to get a hold of, somebody in particular, at least, to help out with Friday the 13th, because they were like, hey, there were some crew members that, I don't know exactly what their title was on working in the film The Children, but when they were wrapping it up, filming this movie, they decided, like, hey, can you help us out with Friday the 13th? So the book, it was in this book called The Blairstown what do you call it? Blairstown, Friday, history or something like that. I have it somewhere. I just don't feel like pulling it out because it'll just waste more time. But either way, the book was like, I think, $25, hardback cover, very cool. Gives you a little bit of the history around the movie, around Blairstown, and also how they try to kind of pull some other people in to help make Friday the 13th. So overall, it's like really cool. I got that. And somebody, a local, actually, when I'm always willing to help out local businesses and stuff of them around that area, especially for something that I really like that film of Friday the 13th. So I basically, bought, the Blairstown Museum t-shirt, a hoodie sweatshirt, and then also there was something else. Oh, these pops, marshmallow pops. I gave one to my friend Matt because I bought two of them. One was actually intended for my friend Todd, but he just never responded back. It's like, you know what? If I let this thing sit around and you don't eat it, it's just going to go bad. Bottom line. So basically, I gave it to my friend Matt, and I didn't eat mine because I'm going to keep it as a collector's item. So I really can't tell you what it tastes like, but it was a marshmallow pop, like a lollipop, but a marshmallow in the end with it decorated like Jason Voorhees' mask, and it was actually really cool. So they were like $3 a piece, and I got two of them. My intentions was to give one to another friend who kind of likes these horror movies like I do, but it just didn't seem to work out. So I just said, you know what, let it go, and I'll give it to another friend. So what can I say? Ryan's got a lot of pictures. I'm sorry, I'm still looking at him, so I'm obviously very distracted by that. And he's got a lot of cool stuff Ryan has on his Facebook page, but I could spend hours just talking about the stuff he has. He's got some very cool stuff, really hot-looking chicks, girls, whatever, on his page. And, I'm going to have to see. I'm going to feel bad because he acknowledged about his thing next weekend, and if I don't show up, he's going to probably be very upset. Not that he'll be pissed. He'll just be very upset. So there was a couple of things I wanted to acknowledge, too. One, I got this new computer. I'm going to go back to that for a split second. I got this brand new computer, probably after everything's said and done, it's going to be a little over $3,000 spent, which I'm, got like the interest-free deal for 12 months on the stuff I bought, the main component, the part, and some other things. And I am going to slowly try to chip away at paying this off month by month, week by week, day by day. But lo and behold, one of the upgrades I did, which actually was very, very nice one, is, let's see what it has. It's a Mac Pro, late 2013, processor speed, 3.7 gigahertz quad core, which I was up to 6 cores, and now I'm back to 4 cores, which honestly, this machine is much faster than my older machine anyway, and I have to explain what happened to that. It had 12 gigs of RAM, and it has a 256 hard drive, but it's a flash drive. Now it's got dual GPU core, AMD FirePro D3000 graphics cards. Two of them, 2 graphics cards in this little tiny machine, because it's meant for professional use strictly only. So that was great, but the 12 gigs of RAM definitely kind of made the beach ball of death come up quite a bit, because everything goes to RAM, even with a SSD drive, which does help a hell of a lot. It was definitely everything. The RAM was just not much, and you open up a couple windows or whatever you want to call it, it just started getting the beach ball of death. And it was like, okay, this is a super high-end machine that's getting the beach ball of death. I need more memory. So I found on eBay, which was actually a really good price, I got 32 gigs of RAM to replace my 12 gigs of RAM. I replaced the sticks altogether, and it made a big difference. It's definitely made a big difference. It's much, much faster now. So that's really cool. And it was like $150 for the RAM. Believe it or not, that is really good. Because I looked online, If you go through Apple for that upgrade for that 32 gigs of RAM, they charge you, I think, about $500 for the same deal. And it was like, okay, $150 or $500, and the RAM is the correct RAM. It's not even like I got I didn't get the right thing. I got what it said. It was like made for an Apple Mac Pro. I got to make sure I don't say book. It's a Mac Pro. It's a desktop, and it works great. It works fabulous. I just got it for like $350 less than what Apple would have charged. So, and you can go all the way up to 64 gigs of RAM, but a friend, a computer geek friend of mine, Rich, told me that it's kind of just, you won't be using it. He doesn't even use it. He does a lot more than I will. Now, here's the catch, though. The RAM came yesterday, or 2 days ago now, in the mail on Saturday. I myself tried to put it in because I figured this is like a no-brainer. I could do this. It's not that hard just to put memory into a computer. I mean, it's like a no-brainer type deal. So I try to put the RAM in and the memory and end up, unfortunately, I wedged it in, which I thought was the correct way, and it basically got stuck. And it wasn't even showing one of the memory sticks. So I was like, okay, this is a bit of a problem. So it was like I was trying to fix it. It was like, okay, before I go any further where I'm going to really just end up breaking something on a $3,000 computer, I will call my friend Rich or text him and see if he can help me out. And it was like it was like around 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, something like that. And actually, I texted him. He said, yeah, that's no problem. You come over. And I kept on asking him. I think he got annoyed after a while because I was asking him the same thing over and over again. Rich, do you mind if I come over? Because, it's Saturday night. You got your wife and your kids. I don't think they're going to want me over the house, occupying your time to fix something I screwed up. So he did. He helped me unwedge stuff. And he actually said, Walter, you also, what do you call it? I also kind of like not broke, but I knocked it off, was a pin set inside on the computer itself. So that was a serious issue. He said, I'll try to fix it. He got like a little bit like of a dental tool that he has. He uses for fine stuff that he does on his computers, like where you really don't want your fingers to touch because it's just such a small and delicate area. Now, if you've ever seen where you put RAM into the RAM slot, they're generally very small, but they're very solid. Well, this one, unfortunately, though, is like they're, because it is made, anything nowadays, is made very cheap. So, unfortunately, the problem is you got to be very careful. I mean, it is a very high-end machine, but at the same time, it is kind of like made kind of by cheap. I mean, for the price they're charging, you think it would be a lot better. But the quality seems a bit flimsy. So you got to be really delicate, which I did try to do so, but it did not work. And I end up breaking a pin off, or not breaking it, but I at least was partially broken off. Like it wasn't completely out of where it's supposed to be. I almost want to say like a socket or something, like not a socket, but in its location. So he said, I'll try to put it back on, but I can't guarantee anything. And he says, this may void your warranty, even my extended warranty. We're going to say, well, you did an upgrade on your Mac and you didn't get us to help you out. So it was like, well, I don't know, because I did get this refurbished. I can just play dumb and say, listen, it was the way it came. Hey, if you pull the RAM out and this particular pin comes out, the blame's not going to be on me. I can just blame you that you pulled it out and you actually knocked the pin off, this particular pin on where the RAM goes in. So I will still play stupid if I have to, but fortunately, he actually, with this, literally, it was a dental tool. He was able to place it back in where it was supposed to go, and his eyesight was much better than mine is anymore, because I had corrective surgery, And now I can see really good far away, but I can't see very well close up. And in this spot on my Mac Pro is so small that it's beyond impossible for me to see even with glasses. So he could see it perfectly fine. He was trying to show me, he says, this is what I'm going to do. This is the pin that got knocked off on your computer, my Mac Pro, and this is how I'm going to fix it. It was like I just had taken his word because I couldn't see a damn thing. So he did get the pin back in. He did put the memory in, and I now have 32 gigs of RAM, which actually made a big difference. So I'm very happy about it. I'm going to check my time, folks, because let's see where I'm at. I'm at 35 minutes, and I have a lot I want to talk about still. Nothing I'm going to read, but basically what I want to talk about. So I was like happy he did that. Unfortunately, though, Rich is a very thank you. I thank him enough for doing that, but we end up talking, and I didn't want to be rude because he actually took time out of his night to help me fix my machine. But the only thing was then it was around 8 o'clock or 7. I said I went over his house. I didn't leave until 4:30 in the morning. That was a bit of a problem. But again, I just don't want to be rude because the man was very nice enough to take care of this. Because again, if I would have taken this and this did not fall under things they can fix, and they try to just manually fix it like he did, I'll guarantee you right now that would have been like at least $100 out of pocket money just for them to look at it. So at a computer, a computer tech guy to look at it. So this, he did out of his, he helped me out. He fixed it. So I'm not going to like say, okay, you help me fix something, I'm going to take off. No, I'm going to be considerate enough to stick around. The man was nice enough to do that for me. I'm going to be nice enough to, spend some time with the guy. So I did. Unfortunately, it was a little bit much later than I wanted it to be. So that was a problem, but it was fine because I didn't work yesterday. I will work tonight. So anyway, the interesting thing, he did turn me on to some things I really wasn't. He's a big movie buff. He loves movies. He's a big computer geek person too, but he loves movies and certain TV shows. So one he actually, I have to thank Rich about, was he was showing me some different things about, he's really into those alien movies, including Prometheus. And he was explaining things how like directors had some fallout with the movie company at the time. And there were certain things they did not like where a certain director might have made, like, for instance, Aliens 3. They didn't like what was the test print, I guess, of the film. They weren't too satisfied with the movie. What do you call it? The movie producers. It was like Fox, or was it 20th Century Fox. They didn't like the final result, and they basically butchered the director's film to the point that the director was, according to Rich, said he was going to actually put the name of Alan Smithy on the film because he was so pissed off. He ended up not doing so, but he was not pleased on how they destroyed what he had imagined for the third film. It was like, well, that's pretty cool. And they actually have this, I call it a test print. That's one of the names I think you can call it, on like this certain releases of these alien films. I was drawing a blank for a second. So that was pretty cool. And then he was explaining Prometheus to me, because I think a lot of us weren't big fans of the prequel to Aliens. So, yeah, I'm changed the subject, by the way, as you notice. And he explained it to me. He was actually showing me some guy got, because it's up online, if you're actually interested. It's up online. They did put some footage that was shot. There was tons of footage shot for the movie of Prometheus, but then it was whittled down from the test print to a much shorter version of the film just to make it more appealing theatrically. So they cut some stuff out that actually changes the whole feel for the movie. So he was showing me some scenes. Some guy actually a fan of the Alien/Prometheus film. Some guy actually got like some of the raw footage, which again you can find online. There's that company not Wyeth, or it's something like that, is the name of this proverbial industry in the films of both Alien movies and the Prometheus. They're all under the same umbrella. And they basically, this name of this company that, did this exploration and found aliens. Well, that company was in since the very first movie, the name of this company, or whatever you call it. It was definitely in the second film that Cameron did. So it was more spoken about, I think, because it was a prequel in Prometheus, though. So there's, for the name of that company, which I can't remember, this proverbial company in the films, what I'm trying to get at, they actually made a website on this film, Prometheus. They made this website up that made this like a real company. It's a fictional company, but they made it look like it's a real company. And what they did, though, is they show you a lot of the deleted scenes that you won't find anywhere else, probably even on your Blu-ray or your DVD. If you bought the movie, it won't be on there. This is stuff that's strictly online. And there's some other sites. So some fan actually took a combination, I think, of the stuff that was placed on Prometheus online from this industry thing, this fake industry, and combined it, I think, with the extra footage from the Blu-ray and the DVD releases of Prometheus. And he made a fan-based copy. I can't remember the name of it, a fan copy of the film, which the quality doesn't go any higher than DVD. And basically, though, he put it together. My friend Rich was showing it to me. And it was like, yeah, you know what? This is actually really cool. And it makes a heck of a lot more sense than what I saw theatrically in the film, in the movie theaters when the film came out. So it was like, I kind of appreciate that. He actually really piqued my interest to the point that, you know what, I'm going to see if I can buy those original, Alien films and plus Prometheus. So I looked online. Here, Best Buy, Amazon, everything, especially Best Buy. You can buy Prometheus for $7 on Blu-ray. I was like, well, that's not bad because it's actually got some extra footage in there too. And a lot of the deleted stuff was put in there. There's some commentaries, which normally I don't watch. This time I actually did watch it, part of it. And with a combination of what my friend Rich had told me about the film of Prometheus, it's like, well, he actually was like the program guide to the film because it made no sense to me at first. But then watching his extra footage and then watching the theatrical again, I could fill in the blanks, and it made a lot more sense. The movie made tons more sense than what it did when I first saw it. So I really enjoyed that. I have to thank Rich about that. But I don't think I mentioned this yet. But yeah, I bought all the original films with the director's cut or the test print copies, whatever you want to call it, of the first 4 films of Alien. The Alien movies, or Aliens, because Aliens was named one of the movies, but the Alien movies, all 4 of them with the extended cuts, the extra footage and stuff like that, $14. So it was $14 plus $7, minus the tax, because I'm not including that. So that was like actually a very good deal, and I picked those up. I figured at least for now I'm going to get through Prometheus, rewatch that from beginning to end, because I only saw it once in the theaters. It's much cheaper than even pretty much almost renting it. And it was actually very entertaining. And it actually brought up a lot of interesting points. I think I kind of put that up there with now understanding the film much in a much clearer way. I kind of put that up there with like 2001, 2010 Space Odyssey. And actually, it's funny because a lot of people don't like this film, but it kind of also reminds me of Event Horizon, because the reason I say that was because in Event Horizon, believe it or not, they questioned, well, it was the whole question about religion, God, and stuff like that. And actually, yes, it definitely did question that, and not in a bad way. don't get me wrong, because actually what Event Horizon was, they actually did find that hell does exist. So if there's a hell, there's a heaven. If there's a heaven, there's a hell. So that was the whole premise of that movie, is they literally find hell. They actually stumble through a wormhole and end up physically, they went in and out of hell. That it really does exist in the universe. Not to, in the heavens, there is a heaven and there is a hell. And hell is not on earth, but hell is somewhere out in the universe. So that was interesting. And Prometheus kind of does the same thing. Like, people want to know, just like 2001 and Space Odyssey did at the very end, just like the film of Event Horizon did, it questions, or it brings up the topic of God. So, and I think in Prometheus they do mention, because even after everything being said and done at the end of the film, the main character, because I'm sure everybody who wants to see the film has seen it, this one android in the film asked the main character in the film, do you still believe in, do you still have your belief in God after everything that happened? And yeah, she did. She still believes in God. There is a God. She, the whole quest was in this movie as this girl, this main character, this woman, she actually played in the movie, I think it was the remake, but I'm not sure. I'm going to look that up in a second, of the girl with the dragon tattoo. Let me see if I can find this. I wasn't going to do this. So you're going to hear a little bit of silence. And I'll try to do the best I can without dragon tattoo. Dragon. I can't find it. Oh. Because there was 2 copies. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. 2011, Swedish. No, maybe she actually was the original girl. Because one was 2011. I'm going to sneeze again, so you have to forgive me for a second. Yeah, because it was actually the one who plays in Prometheus, the main character, I believe now, is the one from the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So, because let's see, because I'm really bad with spelling. Let's see if I can probably find Prometheus. Which, by the way, I thought that the woman was really hot. So that was the main reason I actually went and seen the film originally, because of her. Yeah, she actually looks much, much better now, but than she did, and I thought she looked hot in the film of Prometheus. But yeah, Prometheus, the girl with the dragon tattoo. Yeah, she actually was in the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, not the remake, but the original movie. She was the main character. Not the remake, but the original one. So that was hard to believe. There was only a few years between the original film and the remake film. So yeah, she's a good actress too, but I just kind of have the hots for her. And I did when that film came out. But that's pretty interesting. I didn't know, and I can't pronounce her name. I'm not going to screw it up. So yeah, when she was in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that was in 2009. And then in 2012, she was the main person in Prometheus. She's only 37 years old too. She's very small. She's only 5'4". Not that that's important. But yeah, it's definitely a film that makes you think. And I'm sure The Girl with the Dragon Tattoos, my one friend Matt told me, he only will watch the original one, not the remake. Now I really want to watch it, because now I know that the main character from Prometheus was in there. And yeah, she's an incredible actress. I'll say that much. But yeah, no, the Prometheus film definitely makes you think a lot. I think it's for a science fiction film, I think it was really intelligently written, if I can use that word. It was worth the watch. Again, it was worth the buy for the $7 because there's plenty of extras on there. I can, kind of bleed through. Now, I don't think she's going to be in the sequel to the prequel. There's supposed to be 3 prequels. It was supposed to be a 3-movie deal. Now, I'm hearing now that they cut it down from 3 to 2, so it'll be, because Prometheus did pretty poorly. It actually did really bad. And that being so, they decided, like, okay, we're not going to make 3. We're just going to make the last 2 films to these prequels down to just 1 now. And so I think in the process, they just basically are going to not have the woman who played in Prometheus. I might try to take a stab at her name. Is it Noomi Rapace or something? I don't know, because I know I would mess it up. She's a very attractive woman, by the way. But it's Noomi. That's her first name. Her last name is R-A, and it's Pace, P-A-C-E. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that film. It's actually very interesting if you like those kind of science fiction, kind of deep films. This is definitely one of them. Yeah, I think the crew they picked, the cast and crew for this prequel was actually really a good choice of actors. Which I think maybe in the future now we won't be watching too many movies because everybody's going to be going on strike now because of Trump. So that actually was the last part I wanted to talk about. I'll tell you, folks, that yesterday that because I want to kind of round this up at this point. Let's see where I'm at. Yeah, I'm almost at an hour. So I'll make this kind of brief. But I was actually considering, so thank you, Rich, for those, talk about those films, certain movies, especially the alien ones, because you actually intrigued me on what you we talked about. So thank you. And I actually, real quick, because I am running out of a bit of time, so I do want to say this too. Thank you, Matt, because he actually sent me, he sent me some links that were actually very informative, very helpful, because this is one of the things that upset me, and he heard my cry, so to speak, and he answered my question. And that was that when I was talking to my friend Rich, he was saying, he was showing me on the internet, because you can't believe anything you see on the news or definitely on the internet. Because it's basically, a lot of that stuff is just pretty much a way to upset people or get them stirred up. But he was showing me, he said, well, look how many people showed up for Trump's inauguration. It was like less than what there were at what do you call it, Barack Obama's. And it was like, my friend Matt said, I gave a couple ideas why I think it was less people there, probably because most of the people who voted for Trump, no offense, generally have jobs. It's not like, hey, I have all day, I can just go down to Washington, D.C., and do whatever I want to do because I don't have a job to go to next morning. I don't have a job to get up for. I'm basically getting money from the government. The government's giving me my phone. They're giving me my housing. They're giving me a car. They're giving me everything I want. So, hey, I'm not looking for a job. I'm going to go down and be able to see the rock star on stage getting inaugurated for the second time, or see Santa Claus, the one who's giving me everything for free that I ever wanted, and I don't even have to work for it. So, but, this was on a Friday afternoon. Not many people can take off work, folks, and go down and stuff. I mentioned this to a couple of friends, and one actually said, yeah, hey, I had to work that day. I had to work all day. I couldn't even watch any of the inauguration. I had to work the whole entire day. So it's not like I could just get up and go down to Washington at this, spur of a moment. And it was like me, too. I couldn't take off. I mean, I had taken off the week before and stuff. I just can't keep on using all my time, from work for things like this. So, yeah, I mean, look who is voting for, I should say, who had voted for Trump. And all these people are people who physically have jobs. So, no offense. So that was one of my things that my guess was. Two is they could have basically photoshopped, or not even Photoshop, but they could have showed in earlier time when people were just starting to, basically come in and, it wasn't when everybody was there for the inauguration taking place. You can fudge those pictures any way you feel will play in your favor. So that is the other thing. And so there's a couple of speculations, but anyway, because I'm just dragging on. I'm very tired too. I'm always very tired. I mean, it's nothing new. So yeah, my friend actually, he found something on YouTube with somebody giving their spiel on that, and kind of said who cares how many people show up? The guy's the president. It doesn't matter if you show up. You made your decision. So most of the people who show up, I hate to tell you, down there, was one thing that got me upset on Friday, because I watched a little bit before work, trying to get ready for work, because I don't go in until 4 o'clock, was that the news covered more so about these rioters that were outside where the parade was supposed to take place in Washington. They covered that more than anything else. They didn't care about the inauguration that much. And every chance they had, folks, they were showing clips side by side of Trump and Obama. Oh, well, Trump's going to this now. He's leaving the inauguration. He's going to the luncheon. But on the other side, this is what Obama's doing. Well, Obama is finished. He is history. Why do we seem to care on every movement like he's still president? And they covered equally and more so about not Trump, but Obama, every step they could. And then when this riot broke out, this was so freaking important. This is the most important thing. Well, look what's happening. It's only been an hour after the inauguration. Look what's happening. It's a disaster. No, actually, it's because you're making it look like it's a disaster. Well, there's 1,000 people breaking things and stuff. Well, I've said this, and I've heard everybody I've spoken to about this. Yeah, we call that, when you're a little kid, that's called a temper tantrum. When you don't get your way, when you don't get what you want, when you're a little kid, you take a temper tantrum, and that's what these people are doing. They were physically throwing rocks at police officers. 2 of them got injured. What else happened? They broke windows. They did as much damage in Washington to places as they could, like Starbucks, their favorite place for these millennials. And that got more coverage than the actual inauguration. I mean, this is ridiculous. So that was depressing. And then I knew, folks, that the next thing was going to be this whole situation that was happening on Saturday, which kept me in the house the whole entire day, about these women protesters against Trump. And I said this to a friend at work, and I said there was a woman at work I worked with, loved very dearly, but she was all upset that she was really convinced that Trump now is going to pass a law. And I thought, he said, no, that's ridiculous. People aren't that stupid. I swear, this is my one friend, in a roundabout way, kind of said. People aren't that dumb that, what this woman believed, that now that Trump is in office, he's going to pass a law that men can grab women's vaginas. And it was I swear, she was upset, and she says, everybody ever grabs my vagina or my granddaughter's, I'm going to shoot them or I'll kill them. And it was this was just a way for Trump to get, people to listen, get their attention. He's by being such a, off the wall person, and it worked. It really worked. So anyway, she really believed this. My friend did not believe that people are that stupid. And then lo and behold, the news loves to cover this stuff and exaggerate the truth. There is all around the world, and definitely in the states, state by state, even where my friend is upstate Pennsylvania, he said he had annoying women coming in with these, what I call vagina hats and these vagina shirts, saying, you can't grab my vagina, what they use to other terminology. And it's like, you got to be kidding. So this got me so upset. And when I even heard it today, it was like it kind of reinforced why I didn't leave the house. I'm not even kidding. This is why I did not leave the house all day. For other reasons, too. I had laundry to do. I had stuff to do. So my friend Matt, if he hears this, no, I was busy all day at home until I broke my computer and got it fixed. But besides that, it was ridiculous. And I look at there's tons of pictures on Facebook where these women say, you can't grab my vagina, and wearing like vagina hats and vagina shirts, like literally big size vaginas over to like costumes that are the size of vaginas. And it's like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? Do you really believe this is what Trump is going to pass a law on? And unfortunately, it's sadly, but it's true, and it really upset me. But again, I thank Matt because he sent me some information on 2 YouTube videos. So Matt, thank you for those. I'm trying to pull up my mail. I just can't find it. My email. Yeah, so I'm trying to look at them. I don't want to open them up because it'll start playing, and I'm actually using the same computer for everything tonight. Not 2 computers, but 1. That's why I've opened up. You're going to hear it in the background, or it's going to go over top of my my what do you call it? My setup. So yeah, that is just very, very, very disturbing that people are that idiotic, that stupid, that they're that big of morons. There's no other way to put it. That is an extreme, stupid person who believes in this nonsense that Trump's going to pass a law that now men can rampage and grab women's vaginas. So, again, thank you, Matt, for those clips to kind of calm me down slightly. Now I'm getting worked up again. So there was that. And there was something else on that line I want to mention. I can't remember now. Oh, yeah. I was telling this friend of mine, Todd, I left a voicemail. And I said, it gets even worse because some of these are these like kid actresses. There's one in particular. She was on this show called Shake It Up. Her name, you know what? I remembered today, and now I forget. Not that it's important. Maybe I'll look it up. Okay, I just put it in now. See if I can get it. Oh, I remember now. I just needed to. Bella Thorne. She was at this protest. This girl is like, I think she's only 16 or 17 years old. And now she's 19. I didn't know that. She's 19 years old. That's still really young. She's had more sex in her lifetime at like 16 than I'll have, and she's only like 19 now, than I've had my whole entire life, and I'm pushing 50. And she just has sex with anybody. I'm not even kidding. Anybody that will be willing to basically go to bed with her. She has no scruples, no morals. She basically is like an open person who will have sex with everyone. And she is a Disney, person. And she dresses like so provocatively. And she was on Shake It Up when she was 12 years old, I think, is when the show was made. So it was a couple years ago. And, I mean, there's no other way to put it. She's just, basically, she is like equivalent to white trash at this point. And she's so proud of herself that she just basically sleeps with everything and everyone that is willing to sleep with her. She advertises herself as a walk-in piece of meat. And it is really sad. It's really sad. And I remember when she was promoting herself on Disney, on the Disney Channel, she would like say, "Oh yeah, I have a learning disability, and I'm dyslexic, and it was very hard because they had to help me with I had to learn a different way because when I would try to read things, I would see things obviously backwards, and it was a tough struggle for me. And then being in acting wasn't even not any easier. Blah blah blah. So she's trying to paint this pretty picture of how sweet and innocent she is, how wholesome she is as a kid actress. She's these 12-year-olds idol because she was only like 12 or 13. And then it was like all I ever saw on the news all the time on these PR articles, whatever you want to call it, these articles about her, is Bella Thorne. She's sleeping with this person. She's sleeping with that one. It's like this girl is only like 16 years old, and she has slept with hundreds of people probably at this point. I don't know. It's a lot. And now, why am I bringing this up? Like, Walter, what are you trying to get at? Well, the point is, she's now making a big huff about Trump, and she's holding one of these signs down in probably Washington. I don't know where it was. Protesting against Trump and saying, you're not going to grab my, my private part. And it's like, no offense, but that's kind of, in my book, that's definitely what you call the pot calling the kettle black. You're talking about, you're not going to come up and grab my vagina. But it's like, well, you know what? No offense. You let everybody in the United States so far who is in hand's length of your vagina grab it already and actually put their private parts in there. So, and now you're complaining about that Donald Trump is this, obviously she has no clue about not religion, about what sex is about and what his statement was about. And instead, she is the biggest hypocrite. And this is just one example because you got plenty of these other celebrities, or I like to call, at this point, celebrity whores, who have slept with everybody under the sun, and now all of a sudden they are so sweet and wholesome, and they got to deal with this vicious Donald Trump who, is, thinks that he's so special because he's married to a younger woman and stuff. Well, I hate to say it, that relationship is probably a lot more, what do you call it? I don't want to say, well, maybe that is the word, more wholesome, and he's got more to show for himself because he married the woman than you do for sleeping with anything that's not nailed down to the floor and being promiscuous. And the worst thing that these celebrity whores are worried about is that they're, which they don't have to, they just got to make a big deal out of because of their boredom, is they got to make a big deal out of, what? You're going to stop that I can't have an abortion? I can't get the pill for free for these degenerates that want to basically sleep with everything like me? I got to protect these people because they're like me. And I'm the one who's their role model. So, I mean, the whole thing is just is disgusting. It is it's appalling. And honestly, I said to every friend that I called today, I told them that I have a hard enough time. I have a very hard time issues with women, and the fact that I'm very self-conscious. I'm afraid to approach a woman because I'm afraid of what they're going to say or how they're going to react to me. Because it's always very negative to begin with, and then you got this, this plethora of women out there. Maybe it's not that many because I'm sure it was as small as the other thing, but the news makes it sound like a large amount of women that are saying, you can't grab my vagina. And any man who does is, it's like most of the women I've even seen today are walking billboards of like, please grab my vagina, please grab my ass. And at the same token, now they're saying, well, you can look, but if you touch it, I'm going to shoot you. Or I'm going to kill you. And it's like, it's one thing. It's a double message. That's number one. Two, these people are freaking nuts, and they're very upset because now that, as Rush would put it, Santa Claus has ended. The days of Santa Claus is over for at least 4 years, hopefully longer. They are deeply like a mess. Not even devastated. They're just a mess. These people are just ready to start havoc. Now, we were blamed before it even happened that, hey, the Republicans are going to lose this time. Hillary's going to be our new president. Everybody was fully convinced. And when this happens, we better watch out because they're gonna start riots and throwing things and shooting people. You got to watch out for these Republicans. They're a mess. Well, guess what? Everything they said is exactly what they're doing right now. They're doing exactly what they said how we would react, and they're reacting that way. But you know what? That's okay for them to act like idiots. But they accused us of being that way because I'm a Republican. So, but no offense, you basically are doing exactly what you reflected on us, you idiots. So the whole thing is just it makes me speechless. I don't know. And I mean, again, I'm pushing 50. I've really never had any serious relationship. And you got a 16-year-old who slept with hundreds of guys and women and everything else, and she's at a Donald Trump rally against him that he's going to grab her vagina. Are you serious? And that's not the only one. There were some other ones I wanted to mention, and I just can't remember that really just got me upset. And that was this one in particular, this Bella Thorne. But there was... Oh, actually, I will stop watching that now, too. I paid for a season because I thought it was pretty good. Was Melissa, I can't pronounce her last name. She plays Supergirl because I like that. I did like that show. And she was on Glee. Now, she was another one holding a sign. You can't grab my... Like, the sign literally said something on the line of... Excuse me. Because she plays Supergirl. You can't grab my vagina because it's made of steel. Trump, it said, Trump, you can't grab my vagina because it's made of steel. And it's like, it's so pathetically childish. I got to watch because now I'm really getting stirred up. And I'm already over an hour because of that. So it's and I don't want to lose like my whole show by hitting the wrong button. I've done that before. So that was another one. I'm looking because, and I got pictures. I'm going to actually use it as my main thing, as a picture of a bunch of women in large vagina costumes. I mean, it's beyond pathetic. These people are real losers. There's no other way to put it. Let's see if I can find what. Yeah, here it is. The one from Melissa, she's holding the sign, the one who played, and she has a sweatshirt on that says feminist, and she's proud of herself. She's holding the sign up, says, "Hey, Donald, don't try to grab my pussy," pardon my French, because that's what she wrote. It's it's made of steel, underlined in red. So it's like, okay, grow up. You're not a child. Well, actually, you are a child. You're a child in mind and probably spirit, but not in body. So you need to grow up, folks. These left-wing wackos. So anyway, this is Walter from iWalter, and yes, I'm going to sign off because I'm a little over an hour. Hopefully you enjoyed my show tonight, and I will be back whenever. I don't know at this point, so just let you know. So thanks again for listening.